you were there in
bắt đầu
Washington, D.C.
cái
Started kicking
event
us off.
ngày hôm nay. Ok.
We've had 10 conferences then to commemorate the anniversary of all these different events, and I'll just give you some of these names. In 2017, the Search for Peace. In 2018, 1968 and the 10th Offensive. In 2019, 1969, Vietnamization and the year of transition in the Vietnam War. And then, of course, 2020 was the COVID year. 2021, we did it virtually, 1970 to 1971. Nixon discord in the U.S. withdrawal from Vietnam. 2022, the war between North and South Vietnam. 2023, the Paris Peace Accords and the Allied withdrawal. 2024 was 1974 commemoration, shattered peace, continued conflict, and preparing for the field for the final battle for Vietnam. And then in 2025, here we are, the end of the Vietnam War. Now, if you look around this room, you will, in fact, how many of you were here for the entire 10 years? I know, Steve, you were here.
Almost.
And of course, all of those that are working were here. That's wonderful. How many of you are here for this conference for the first time that you've ever attended a conference? Wow. That's absolutely wonderful. Give yourself a hand for that. I'm very impressed. And generational. We have students here that, master students, we have PhD students from around the world. That's very impressive. So I'm so pleased, and we hope that you have a tremendous 2 days with us here in Lubbock, Texas. I'm very pleased this morning to introduce, as I like to say, my boss, Dean Tasha Dupre. She is the dean of the largest college at Texas Tech University, the College of Arts and Sciences. She's been with us now for 3 years. She came to us from the University of Central Florida. She is an anthropologist. She has led bioarchaeology research projects in Sudan and in Egypt. Dean Tasha has an interest in military history from the fact that her father served in the Army Corps of Engineers in the Royal Canadian Army, keeping an eye on Moscow from the North Pole. Last year, Steve and I were in Vietnam in 2023 with a student group, and we decided to invite Dean Tasha to travel to Vietnam with us in the following year, 2024. We asked her to go with us, and she accepted with one condition, that she audit my Vietnam War class. Now, my colleagues all said, well, Dean say that all the time, you know, they're gonna audit the show up comment. She showed up for every class. Not only did she show up, but she raised her hand and asked questions. And they were the kind of questions that when you get a question from the dean, you want to really answer it well. But she was there all the time that she could possibly be. They were always good questions. She actually read the books that were assigned. She didn't take the exams, but I'm guessing that if she had, she would have done very well. But we are so pleased because now we believe that Dean Tasha Dupre is really one of us. With that, I'd like to introduce Dean Tasha Dupre.
Well, thank you, Ron, for that really very nice, warm introduction. And you stole some of my thunder, but that's okay. I'll talk a little bit about that. So on behalf of Texas Tech University and the College of Arts and Sciences, it's really our honor to host and welcome you all to Lubbock and West Texas. and especially since there's a lot of you in this room who I'm guessing have never been to Lubbock before. And I will mention that a week ago, we had a blizzard and a snowstorm last Saturday, and tomorrow it looks like it's going to be, probably most of you are literate in Celsius, so it is going to be about 35 degrees Celsius tomorrow. So definitely a big switch from last weekend, and so we brought the great weather for all of you to be here. So it's really my honor to be here this morning with you, and to recognize that through panels, presentations, and discussions that we're going to recognize the 50 years that have passed since the end of the Vietnam War. As Ron mentioned, I will be celebrating my 3rd anniversary since joining Texas Tech as the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. As this is actually my 3rd IPAC and Vietnam Center annual conference, and as many of you may know, the Institute for Peace and Conflict and the Vietnam Center and Archive, which we consider to be shining jewels in the crown of arts and sciences, and also national and international treasures, are housed in the College of Arts and Sciences. And as Ron mentioned, the College of Arts and Sciences is our largest college. We have 15 different departments, 3 and 1 program, 3 institutes, and it covers the gamut of humanities, social sciences, and also the natural sciences. We currently enroll about 9,000 of the 41,000 students that are at currently at Texas Tech. So when I actually arrived at Texas Tech 3 years ago, in discussions with Ron, I really quickly found out that I had a connection with one of the missions of the Institute and the Center. And that is that 5 of my former graduate students are now currently working for the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency as forensic anthropologists. And they're engaged in the search, recovery, and identification of our nation's military personnel who have gone missing during military conflict. And several of my former students have now actually also traveled to Vietnam to participate in those kind of missions on Vietnam soil. So as Ron mentioned, not long after I got here, we already started discussions about me joining the group to actually go to Vietnam. And our intention was to go to Vietnam and visit several universities in Vietnam to renew relationships and to create new relationships between Texas Tech and those universities. And as Ron said, in preparation for that, I did actually audit his class. It was riveted. And I quickly then started to think about all the connections that I have had in my lifetime to Vietnam. While I grew up in Canada, my social studies high school teacher actually was a Canadian who participated in the Vietnam War as a medic. And he brought that to life for us as students, bringing in all his gear that he wore in Vietnam and talking about his experiences as he was there. As Ron mentioned, my father was also in the Canadian military, and he served at a joint Canadian-American military base in the Arctic Circle. And as Ron mentioned, he actually was part of the mission to monitor what was going on during the Cold War and intercept transmissions that were coming out of Moscow. And Ron and I talked about all of that and the impact that had on me. So I felt well prepared to go on our trip to Vietnam and joined Ron, Dr. Steve Maxner, Dr. Alex Taibo, who I see in the back. Hi, Alex. And also Dr. Carrie, there you are, Nguyen, on this trip to Vietnam. I quickly discovered the beauty of the amazing country of Vietnam and the warmth and the welcoming of its people. So in addition to meeting many fantastic scholars and participating in one of the most meaningful ceremonies that I have ever encountered in my life, returning documents from the Vietnam War back to their Vietnamese families, we also toured many of the most significant sites of the Vietnam War. The impact on of that trip on my life has been indescribable, and I really want to thank Ron, Steve, Alex, Ty, and Carrie for that trip of a lifetime. The experience gave even more meaning to my role as the leader of the college and being home, as it is home to one of the most significant archives on the Vietnam War. And also that we do host this amazing conference series, as Ron said, has been going on now for a decade. I'm really beyond proud to have the opportunity to be a spokesperson and a cheerleader for the Institute and the archive and for this great conference. So I'm really, really impressed looking at the agenda for the conference, and as I look through, I see that our attendance and our participants include scholars and students from across our nation, from several countries, and I especially want to welcome all of our colleagues who made the long journey from Vietnam to be here today. So I thank you all and really welcome you here to West Texas. And our participants represent many universities and government agencies. And I also note that we have several individuals who have self-identified as Vietnam War veterans. And I want to take a moment to also deeply thank all of you for your service. The conference participation, or all of you who are participating over today and tomorrow, bring a diversity of global perspectives, and no doubt, like many academic conferences I've attended, we will share many diverse opinions which may promote some very lively discussion and stimulating interchange between people. But this really is a conference to be able to connect, engage, and network. And I hope that all of you will take advantage to exchange ideas over this a very important topic and make new connections around the discussion of the end of the Vietnam War. So once again, I just want to give you all a very big Texas welcome. And I say y'all because you have to use the language of the local language. And I hope that you have a great time while you're here and also have an opportunity to explore Lubbock. It is really a hidden gem in Texas. So thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful time over the next 2 days.
Thank you so much, Dean Craig, for your wonderful welcome. My name is Steve Baxter. I'm the director of the Vietnam Center's Archive, and it's my pleasure to provide you with administrative remarks, reminders of the things that you all need to make sure you're keeping track of over the next 2 days. First, I'd like to express welcome. It's so wonderful to see so many of the people who have been here for many events and a lot of fresh new faces. So again, welcome. For the banquet this evening, I want to remind everyone that the buses will start leaving at about 5:45 from the front of the hotel. Of course, the shuttle will run until about 6:20.